they're not obvious. And this is useful because often one is interested in proving a theory in a way that in the end you only have one supersymmetry. Okay. The other thing about the field theory side, of course, is the N counting, the planar counting. So let me, in test large N limit, the thing you hold fixed is the angle squared N, also known as lambda. And so the whole action has an N in front. Actually, the whole action is proportional to N squared because of an N here. And the things we're measuring, the things that the tissue values that we're counting will pretty much always be, well, most of the time, be traces of products and adjoints. So the operators we look at are things like traces that have some, A's of M's and A's and F's of U's and Chi's and so on. But I'm going to make a convention for my lectures. I don't think it's a standard, but I want to tell you what my convention is. You're ending that when I talk about that, I'm going to put an N in there. And that way they scale the same way as the vertices. So something like this will look like a vertex. Three fields, and a trace, connects your indices in this way, and then there's an N just as there is for a vertex. And so with this counting, any Feynman graph, goes N, the number of vertices, where vertices include these operators on equal footing, plus loops minus propagators, which, as we go through our window, is just the Euler number of the graph, where you fill in the index loops, and so you get a topological expansion based on the topology of the graph. So just for the one point, so if I have a single phi squared operator, so here's the operator to field, the simplest graph would be just connect the two fields this way, and there's two N's from the index loops, and N from the vertex here, the operator, and one of the propagators that goes N squared, and indeed this is when you fill in this index loop, and this index loop is topologically a sphere, and we'll send those over two. For a two-point function, you can do two things. So again, if you dress this up with more propagators, you can do the counting as many examples as you want, but some argument tells you that you'll always get N squared for anything like that. With two operators, there's two things you can do. You can either have a disconnected graph, which is the simplest, or you can have a connected graph. And when you fill in the index loop, this is two spheres. Here's the connected spheres, which gives you N to the fourth. This is a single sphere, which gives you N squared. And the general rule with the conventions I've adopted is that the connected expectation value of any number of invariant operators will always scale as N squared because it's always the leading contribution. The leading spherical, also known as planar if you plot this graph, the leading spherical contribution to any correlator, any number of invariant operators will scale as N squared. But the largest term will always be the most disconnected one, the product of the one-point functions. Okay, so that's the lightning summary of the field theory side of this particular duality. So now, the main study, of course, is to bring these two sides together. First, the parameters. Again, let me just... one more thing I should say. The field theory, of course, the reason plays a special role is that it's conformally variant, scale invariant. If you just write out the beta function, the one-loop beta function, from this collection of fields, the matter exactly cancels the H field. The one-loop beta function vanishes, and in fact, the beta function vanishes all orders even non-perturbatively. There's a simple Steinbergian argument for that, which I'll give you actually later on when it's more convenient to. So the theory has the implicit symmetry, the Lorentz symmetries, it has the translation variance, and it has scale variance, and the rest of the conformal group. Okay, so quick parameters. We've already noticed, I think, earlier on, that on the ADS side and the CFT side, we have N and N, and we have G and L squared, and we have G string. Although it might be, okay, there's another way to characterize this on the ADS side, which is if you go back through the definitions, the ratio of the ADS scale to the string scale, where the string scale is just the square root of alpha prime, is just exactly lambda, G squared N. And the ratio of the ADS scale to the plus scale is essentially N. There's a number here that depends on your convention for what the plus scale is, but it's essentially N. So, coming back to the N-way derivation, we need many fields, and we need strong coupling. And strong coupling, again, not just means of order 1, it means much bigger than 1, so that the strings are much smaller than the ADS space, so we can use supergravity, and similarly this has to be much larger than 1, so that quantum gravity loops are small. And the duality should still be true in the case that this is of order 1, and the ADS scale is order the string scale. We should be able to use some clever solvable string backgrounds to talk about this, but they aren't, probably because they're their own field to come up with a lot of examples. There's not a lot that's been said about examples of this when this is order 1. Okay, so there's the meshing of parameters, and the symmetries, again, SO42 cross SO6, the obvious geometric symmetries on the ADS side and on the CFT side. We've just seen this one, and we talked about how the various pieces of the conformal group of the quantum rate coordinates fit into that. So those symmetries are the same. There's also the supersymmetries which are the same, so this whole thing fits into a supergroup that I'm not going to try to describe. There are actually 32 of them. There were the 16 that we just talked about above. and there are 16 superconformal. But there's another symmetry which may not come up again, but it's worth remembering that it's there. It's a symmetry, which is there's the SL2R on both sides. This is the weak strong. So in the 2B string theory, this includes the weak strong duality, string duality, and also shifts of the Ramon scalar, discrete shifts. And in the CFT, again, it's weak strong. This weak strong duality of the 2B theory descends to the H theory, to the free branes, and again, it's weak strong and shifts, discrete shifts of the theta parameter. I mean C, thank you. Discrete shifts of the theta parameter. It's too early in the morning. Okay. So, the next thing is to talk about the matching of the states. Now, of course, we're going to look at that between the states on the ADS side and the states on the CFT side, but we know from general principles of ADS CFT that we can also these are isomorphic to the operators of the CFT, and so the dictionary is more precisely stated in terms of the operators, the local operators of the CFT and the ADS states, in particular, again, the single trace operators. So I could have also written something that had a quadratic traces, but I didn't. So the single trace operators map to the one particle states. And that is kind of obvious from the point of view of this statement about how connected amplitudes are smaller, namely in the large n limit. In the large n limit on the CFT side, things factorize as much as possible into single trace into things trace operators. On the ADS side, that same limit is turning off the bulk coupling constants, and so you have weakly coupled particles. So if I wanted to count the states, I would probably actually want to do it in the global picture because there I get a discrete spectrum and it's easy to count. So if I wanted to sort of phrase it in this way, I would go to the global picture where ADS is roughly the cylinder. The ADS is, as Lisa put it, the soup, and the CFT is sort of the can, it's the boundary, the free sphere on the outside, and then quantified on the free sphere with isomorph these operators, and then compare it to the states here. And in fact, I put in the notes. I guess like tomorrow, if I give you an update, I put in one small exercise to in fact do a calculation in this language rather than directly. But I'm going to simply use this as motivation to make the statement that the dictionary in the end is between the particles. So it's between the different kinds of single phase operators and the particle species in ADS5. And you can state it in terms of not the particles themselves, but the field operators. So you have some field. I'll keep writing scalar fields just because they're simplest. And again, because last time, we're going to quantize these in such a way that the quantum fluctuations, that's what the dynamical field, theta is as z to the delta near the boundary, where delta is one of the two roots of thing squared equals delta minus t. And we have some freedom measures where we take in some cases, where we take the field has some definite, the quantum part of the field has some definite fall up the boundary. And so if we scale that out, so I like to think of this as a basic statement of the dictionary. That is, it's a statement that relates operators to operators. And you can think about it, if you come back to the original hand-waving interpretation of the z-coordinate, in terms of the size of the state you're making, a local operator point is creating whatever it creates all on top of each other. It's creating some state of zero size. And so, in terms of the dual picture, it should be creating something at t equals 0, as it is. I think it also sort of suggests, we always think in terms of the CFT living on the boundary of the ADS space, so the ADS space is the global space, the CFT again is this 3 sphere times time. If it's the Poincare space, which if Steve Silverstein wrote something like this, then this is a Poincare slice, and this is the throat conveying the fact that these directions are shrinking down as you go down to this is the boundary, this is the horizon. The CFT, the local operators of the CFT live here on the boundary of the space. I'm not sure, it's weird because in a sense, remember, this is isomorphism of two theories. The CFT, the CFT is the entire gravity theory. It's a complete isomorphism of this theory. In this theory, it's not, so it doesn't sort of live just on the boundary, but all the local observables, and pretty much all the observables that we know how to write down, live at the boundary. So it's sort of, in a sense, the CFT lives in the boundary of the space, but you have to remember that it really is constructing the entire theory in the interior. It may also bother you when you start to think about it, that when we derive this in the Brady construction, all of the Z-branes were sitting down here at r equals 0 on the horizon. And somehow they migrated out to here, the other end. And the only thing about this is that these are, their positions are quantized, they're fluctuating all the time. And roughly speaking, it's the quantum fluctuations of the original D3 branes that you put in the origin are really building the entire space. And in fact, if you have a scalar field with like the position of the G-brane, and you try to measure it very precisely, measure it very quickly over a very small volume, you know by principles of quantum field theory that it will fluctuate over an arbitrary long distance. And so as you make more and more local observations on the D3 range, you're actually going to see things that are further and further away from where you thought they were. So in some sense, you can use the quantum fluctuations of the D3 range fill the whole space. Okay, so we can check real quickly that with this dictionary, the conformal symmetries match up on the two sides. And again, there's in the CFT there are some listed operators. In the gravity theory, this again is only 5 dimensions now. You have the 5 sphere. You know, when we did the hand-waving derivation, didn't know that we were also going to find the 5 sphere. If we had to, because we had the string theory. But it's different from the ADS directions because the quantum directions are blowing up as you go to infinity. They feel the warping, and so they have this special kinetic properties. The 5 sphere just remains at some finite size as you move out. It doesn't warp in this way, and so in some sense you can just reduce the harmonics of the 5 sphere and think of these as just different fields in 5 dimensions. So we can check that this dictionary has the correct conformal properties that this delta that